this morning we have a nonprofit organization that we want to feature this morning and help support. And this group is called the Coffee Bunker, and I have some of their executives here this morning. But I want you to see just a short video that gives you a little bit of what they do. This is just one video. There's several out there that have great stories to them, but this is one that kind of gives a little bit of an overview of what they do at the Coffee Bunker. And so I want you guys to see it, and then I'm going to ask them to come up, and we're going to talk a little bit about it and give them a presentation this morning. So watch this video.
And today is about honoring our fallen war heroes, but later this week, Two Works for You, along with several local businesses, are hosting a food drive to benefit our veteran heroes still with us.
And of course, those proceeds will go to the Coffee Bunker and Barracks for Vets. Two Works for You reporter Micah Hatfield has the story of how the organization's changed one veteran's life. Micah?
Specialist Taylor Cox did one tour with the U.S. Army in Iraq. When he returned to Tulsa in 2013, he found himself homeless, living on the streets.
Work fell aside, and before I knew it, man, I was in some legal trouble, and it just kind of spiraled real fast.
Then Taylor heard about the Coffee Bunker and Barracks for Vets. With their help, he's no longer homeless.
Once I got here, everyone just kind of took me in like family, and man, it's great what everybody does here. So getting connected with a group of veterans again and kind of getting that brotherhood back was really a big help.
Now, Taylor is a volunteer at the Coffee Bunker.
What are you doing, man?
The same place that saved him. He says he wants to make sure other veterans who are going through what he did have support to get back on their feet. One big way, Taylor says, is to make sure they don't go to sleep on an empty stomach.
You wouldn't believe how many veterans there are that are going hungry. And the more stuff that they can take home for them, not only just them, but their families, is extremely important. Oh, no!
Find out more on KJRH.com about how you can give back this Thursday and possibly change someone's life like Taylor's. In Tulsa, Micah Hatfield, Two Works for You.
I have three representatives from the Coffee Bunker this morning. I'd like to ask you guys to come up here and join me on stage. And I want them to just tell you a little bit about what they do. The founder here is Mary Legion, Executive Director Dr. Michael Horton, and then community volunteer. She kind of coordinates the church aspect of it is Nancy Goodman. And these folks have this, and I keep calling it a ministry, it's just in my head, but it really is a ministry. And a ministry is anything that we do to reach out to other people with the love of Christ. And these guys do a great job of that. And they reach out to veterans. And Mary is the founder of this organization. And what a wonderful story of how she started this. And I want to just give her the microphone and ask her to share just a few minutes about how she started this organization, what prompted it, and what does Coffee Bunker do?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have, my boyfriend and I have three wonderful kids together, and a daughter and two sons. I should say my boyfriend and I have been married for 39 years. So different ways to go about that, and that's when we had our kids. But the two boys both enlisted in the Marines, Daniel and Nathaniel. And Nathaniel, he's out and working in IT in California. Daniel, when he came out, you know, people say, I'm so glad Daniel got home safely. And he did get home safely by an airplane and a car, but he didn't get home safe. He didn't get home safe on the inside. And he had fought both of the major battles in Fallujah, in Iraq, and had been all around Ramadi and driving all the security in his Humvee with his squad. Did a lot of things he was deeply, deeply grateful for the privilege to do for Iraqi people, but also had a lot of experience of just horrific experiences, horrific gore that I wouldn't even begin to tell you about here, through the military conflict with Iraq and America there and the coalition. But Daniel came back very changed and not the young man that I knew when he left. He was having a lot of nightmares. It was the classical PTSD story, a lot of nightmares, deep depression, just anger that came from nowhere that he'd never really had before, despair. His marriage broke up. One time his wife came down in the living room and found him in the middle of the night. She heard sounds, found him dressed in his, Mike's and I aren't a graceful thing, but found him in the living room in his, that mic is a good one. Thank you. Found him in the living room in his camis and his helmet, his boots, everything, just leaning over a pile of pictures that he had from Iraq of his buddies and some pretty horrible pictures. And he was just weeping and weeping and weeping. And that happened to him twice, and he was just breaking. Well, his little marriage broke up, and then he was with me for a few months. My husband was overseas for a while, and we talked a lot. And there were things that came out of Daniel's communication to me that veterans were missing, that was not helping them to settle in and reintegrate successfully into the communities and families. One of those things was connection. It's not having each other. Couldn't find each other to connect with. Another thing was feeling strange and not known and understood by the community when they came back home. The third thing was they needed support and resources, and then they needed renewal. And Daniel said to me one time, how can I come alive and live again in America when half of me is dead in Iraq? And I've heard this not just from my son, but from others as well. Well, it was about, I just could see, I tried so hard to do all that I could, and we spent hours and nights and listening and talking, but I could see Daniel's life juices just falling away. And it was 10 months after he got home from Iraq and was discharged honorably that I got a phone call. And that day, one more Marine, one more son, one more husband, one more brother, one more grandson, one more close friend, one more funny guy, one more smart guy was lost to suicide. And it was about, when I got that phone call, I'm leaving out lots of details, but when I got that phone call, something very important about Coffee Bunker's inspiration and startup and the blessing that has been on us as we've worked there, not perfectly, but certainly has been upon us. When I hung up the phone, honestly, the first thought that I had was, God, if you don't do something redemptive with this is just simply the biggest tragedy, the biggest waste that ever could happen. Well, a lot of people have had worse things, but certainly in my experience, that was the worst. And I also forgave. I also knew from God that I was not to blame anyone. And we just kept going. But it was about a year and a half later that every now and then that little prayer came out of, what are you going to do with this? And it was about a year and a half later, it came out again of, what do you want to do with this? I was vacuuming the floor. And I just had this impression of a place, and there were coffee mugs, and there were veterans sitting around and just hanging out together and talking, and there was a wholeness there together that there hadn't been in their isolation. And I just could see that, and I just began to pray, and pretty soon I talked to somebody about it, and they sent me here and there, and a handful of people from Tulsa just got really behind that, and it's a good thing because I may have a little bit of a visionary part, but Mike can tell you the practical and the knowing how to do all this and the background, it's just not there. But he sent wonderful people, and now with Coffee Bunker, we're just moving ahead in those pillars of connection and the community, learning to get to know the veterans even through Coffee Bunker, volunteering. and getting their boots on the ground, and these other things I mentioned. One of the things that I believe strongly is that isolation is something we must break, because people in depression and despair and shame and fear, the first thing they do is sit in isolation. And so I really believe that as we break the isolation, as we begin to touch people when they come back with mental health issues, we have the ability, through our actions, through our hearts, through our prayers, to keep those mental health issues from sliding down that slope to mental illness. And so our hearts are out there. Everybody that works at Coffee Bunker, I think, just has whole hearts to see our veterans healed, lifted up, help to move forward. And I don't know what to say. We have a great time to do it, and I'm just grateful, and grateful for you. We can't thank you enough for your engagement, and hope you'll drop by and see us, because we have great coffee and great peeps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Nancy, I want to just present a check to you guys from Faith Church for $10,000, just to help you guys in what you guys do, because we believe strongly in it. I got to go by and spend a couple hours with these guys and just see and talk to some of these vets and hear the stories. And obviously, I was deeply moved by it. And I came home thinking, I'd love for all of you guys to come through there and see what they do here. And just to let you guys know, they have volunteer opportunities that you can come by, especially for those of you guys who are vets, to come by, just hang out and talk. They have lots of volunteer opportunities for taking care of kids and doing things right there, helping them with their programs. They have needs for food and donations that they have. So if any of you guys are interested in, and I would just say this from our church, I wish that we had thought of this. I wish that this had been something that came out of our group, but it hadn't. So next thing I want to do is find groups that are successful and link with them and ask you guys to find a place of ministry in one of these kind of organizations where you can serve and love these men and women and help them through the things that they're going through. So we hope that this will be a great inspiration to you guys, and God bless you guys. You want to speak also?
I will. I say my claim to fame is that I'm a mom of a Marine. And when he came home, he experienced, and his friends also, some of the same isolation. He would say, I don't know where I belong, but I don't belong here. And he felt that his band of brothers was his family, and he had lost his family. They were all over the United States. And so, he tried school, and that didn't go too well, different things. And so as I had met Mary and some other people involved in the bunker, and I just thought I have to step forward and get involved somehow. So I have the joy of trying to reach out to the faith community in Tulsa, because we know that an important part of their recovery is to be involved in a faith community and to be involved in worship and service and small groups. So, we're just trying to get more and more Tulsa churches becoming vet-friendly and welcoming our veterans into their congregations. And thank you so much for your help. This is really a blessing.
Yes, I'm Michael Horton, and I'm the executive director of the Coffee Bunker. And I want to just say to you this, a personal word to you. As we were collecting the offering a while ago, Pastor, I became very much aware of the fact that the monies represented by this check were first given as acts of worship. It represents your stewardship as you manifest it under God's guidance, and I just want to say that we understand that. And so on behalf of all the veterans, the reservists, the active duty servicemen, National Guard, and their families, we accept this cheerful gift on their behalf and promise you our good stewardship with it as well. So I'm going to ask Nancy to hold the mic just for a moment. And I wanted to give the church a little bit of a gift, because one of our veterans is a sketch artist, and we try to promote the idea that everybody needs a bunker. And everybody needs a place for respite and rest, and where you can put your stuff down and be safe. And one of our veterans is a sketch artist who has drawn a picture of the bunker that he used in Vietnam. And so we are presenting that to you as a church as a thank you for that, and hopefully we'll be in relationship a long time in the future together as organizations. So thank you, Pastor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Give them a hand. Thank you, guys, for being here.